Namaskar, welcome to the session in Kishore Manch. You are watching us on SWAYAM Prabha channel number 31 and the NCERT's official YouTube channel. So please welcome and we would like to tell you the session of English. This is the session of English class 12th and the subject is debate, a critical thinking skill. The very important subject nowadays in these competitive time where everywhere is the very strong competition out there. So we have a guest, Miss Anudita Bhatia. She belongs from Sardar Patel Vidyalaya, Delhi. Ma'am, please welcome.
Thank you.
So now over to you. Now let's begin the session with your remarks, and I'm sure you will have a very impressive content for us today to watch, to learn, and I'm sure something new from you.
Thank you. I'd like to begin as to why we are discussing critical thinking skills and why is there a need for this. Because I feel in today's competitive space where excellence is almost becoming a cliche, individual expression has become very limited. Today's children are largely engrossed in technology, leaving behind the real interaction. And this is why I think it's very important to encourage children to participate in different activities because they have a long-term influence on the children's expression.
Okay.
I'm not really talking about the irrational TV arguments, but I'm talking about disciplined, responsive, logical, evidence-based debates and arguments. Okay. When done right, such debates and arguments can really help children learn skills that can be used throughout their lives. And what makes debating a potential skill-enhancing activity is that it involves critical thinking. It involves keen listening skills and insistent speaking on a particular subject. Okay. So let's start.
Okay, please.
Okay, so what really is a debate? Yeah. It is a formal argument and with two opposing viewpoints where you get to hear a for and an against.
Yes.
So debates are indeed a potential way to build a child's self-esteem and freedom of thought. Okay. Since children are allowed to share their opinions, their anxieties, the activity becomes highly validating for them, you see. Perhaps they also get a sense of feeling that their voices and their thoughts matter. And there's somebody who would like to listen to what they think. Yeah?
Okay, yes.
So the expected outcome of participating in a debate is that the child acquires a multifaceted analysis and knowledge of the subject.
Yes.
So debate will help you, remain updated about current events, politics, scientific advancement, and of course, the most important thing, your vocabulary.
Right.
Okay. So which is why we need to know what really a debate is and why debate. Why is it that we've chosen a debate?
Right.
A debate allows us to research both sides of an issue. Okay. Now, what is most important is that you need to articulate it very spontaneously.
Yes.
Okay. It enables you with the skills of construction of a logical argument.
Yes.
When it says it strengthens a command of the material and our ability to take multiple perspectives, it is a life skill to be able to hear what the other person has to say, yeah, and yet assertively put across what your opinion is. Okay. So the confidence to speak in public and make sense. And perhaps most importantly, the willingness to hear others' arguments, yeah, and respond to them. So I think debating is a fantastic, one of the finest examples of teamwork, of working cohesively through a fantastic learning experience and at all times, So, which is why a debate. So when I say something like political debates encourage interest in civil dialogues, odds are that you're thinking about a debate, you picture something akin to a primetime presidential debate on television with podiums and timers and moderators and structured formats.
Right.
Not really. Debating in your classroom does not necessarily need these trappings. Yeah. In an ideal form, debating is a tried and tested way to engage more purposefully. So debates can be structured on a larger podium, but debates can be held well within the class. So not only does it allow to see a multiple perspective on an issue, it allows you to hear what the others have to say. Yeah, and listening is a skill that is unfortunately diminishing.
Okay.
Yeah, so debating is also a very fine enabling skill in listening.
Okay.
Okay, now what is it that classroom debates help us develop? It talks about abstract analytical thinking, research and organization, teamwork, cooperation. Now, what is most important, which I personally feel? I think it tells you to distinguish between a fact and an opinion.
Yes.
In the society that we're in today, we are so quick to judgments and we're so quick to opinions.
Yes.
But in a debate, it's very, very important to have your facts right. A debate cannot be based on opinions. It has to be based on facts.
Right.
So which is why I think you're cross-examined. So both the debater and the interjector, for them, it's a learning process. So which is why classroom debates, they really serve a purpose. So how to debate? Well, the first requirement is that you need to become aware,
right,
select, research.
You must be updated at all time.
Absolutely. So right, researching is the hardest and probably the most tedious part of the debate. Now, you don't have to start researching, dive into researching, You start with general search terms and gradually get into more narrow terms, more specific things. So what is becoming aware really? So both individually and as a group, we must use newspapers, magazines, websites. Don't go into research with a position in mind. Very often in debates these days, you don't even know whether you're going for it or you're going against it. So in the preliminary stages, when you don't really know what stand you're taking, believe me, the more undefined your search is, the better is the outcome. So it's very, very important. And this last thing, when I say discuss issues of importance with friends, teachers, and family members, it really serves a great purpose. As many perspectives as you get is a welcome when you're preparing for a debate, because it really helps you in the long run. Okay, now we're talking about selecting, when you've sort of selected a topic and the resolution is ready. Resolution is the statement that is to be debated, and that's a resolve. Okay. It's a statement which you say this house believes in, that's the resolve. Okay, now once that is decided, your research now needs to get narrower. Okay, so debating instead of arguing, please remember, can help you diffuse a rapidly escalating situation. And therefore, you need to plan. Your plan has to be in place. A very mindful research, structured research, and nothing loose or superficial works. And don't ever treat your audience a grade lower than you. Believe me, the audience knows best. Yes. Okay? And they would have done their research well. So in case you haven't done it, you're going to expose yourself. And as they say, good debaters are made and not born, really. So however, one important trait is that you must develop intellectual bravery. Now, what is intellectual bravery?
Yes.
It is always easy in life, as in debate, to take a middle ground and offend no one. But however, in my experience, a winning argument is one where students take up and defend an important principle, taking to its logical conclusion wherever possible. Okay, so very important, this intellectual bravery is important. So planning your debate, as we said, you need to choose slides, which are the ones that are relevant, whether it's enabling you to talk about what you want to, what the focus is. So then the research is an ongoing process. Yeah. So you're preparing, you're fine tuning your arguments, you're working on your language. Okay. Now body language and posture, very, very important.
Right.
So you need to look at your audience and opponents. You don't have to be what is most essential is your eye contact,
Yes.
coherence in your speech, and reading from a prepared script is not really the done thing. You can have your notes. You can once in a while look at things like I'm looking,
Okay.
but you cannot be making your entire script into a read out thing.
Right.
Also, very, very important skill, children, that as you listen to the opposition, make notes. Because these notes will really come in handy during a rebuttal when you are questioning them.
Right.
Okay. Now, moving on to building blocks of an argument. Now, you understand building blocks. Now, I have taken examples, casual relationships, evidence, reasons, facts, and analogies. Now, it's not possible that you have everything. But
Okay.
at least 2 to 3 of these is what you need to have in your argument. So provide evidence whenever you can and not your personal opinion. You must put aside your personal views and remain objective. Yeah. You can be passionate about something,
Yes.
but interest can soon turn into aggression.
Yes.
And passion can be a little upsetting when it crosses borders.
Yes.
So consider the audience's attention span. Don't, it shouldn't be a boring thing with just facts and complicated statistics. It needs to be interesting. It needs to be interesting, and therefore you need to work hard for that. Okay, now we've done a lot of these things, I've thrown a lot of terms at you, but I just thought that we could also make it a live thing sort of. So you see these words: arguments, opinion, oppose, rebuttal, reason, conclusion. I have been using these terms, and I have
Okay.
given you these 3 lines, and I'm expecting you to know your answers.
Okay.
In case you've read it, we can move on to the next slide and see what exactly each one is.
Okay.
So, reason. Reason is a cause, an explanation, or justification for an action or event.
Right.
A rebuttal is the act of proving something is wrong by using an argument. An opinion, what someone thinks about a particular thing.
Yes.
Likewise, the next 3 sentences, let's see what they mean. To oppose is to disagree, to disapprove. So, argument is a statement or a series of statements.
Right.
Okay.
For or against.
Conclusion, a final decision. So these are terms that are very often used. We now come to the basic structure of a debate. What is it that you need to look into? What is it that is required? So when you do the opening statement, your opening statement has to have an introduction and the 3 main ideas or arguments. Now what I have mentioned here on the screen, we very often call it R. A for assertion, R for reasoning, and E for evidence. It's very important. These are very important components, really, of a debate. Now, okay. Now, the opening statement should be your best statement. Okay. It needs to capture the attention of your audience.
Yes.
You can start by stating an interesting fact, a profound statistics, a quote, or any statement for that matter, that has the power of stirring the curiosity and interest of the audience and make them pro to your thinking, your direction of the speech.
Right.
Okay. So
What they will get in the later stage of the statement, if they
Yes.
if they have a strong opening in the debate, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
And there are various ways to do it, So one pattern of writing an opening statement is to start by giving the audience a roadmap, a roadmap to your discourse.
Okay.
So with this technique, you present an opening which draws the interest of the audience, and you've got them curious enough to follow you through. Another technique is to employ the weapon of storytelling. And I say weapon because a well-scripted story, it really plays out real life scenarios in
Yes.
the mind's eye of your audience.
Agreed with you,
Okay.
ma'am. Yeah,
Now,
yes.
A good story should be a perfect blend of emotions and meaning. It
Right.
must be a short story, okay? It cannot be a very long story. A lot of good debaters also start with shocking statistics, just to make your audience sit upright and pay closer attention to what you have to say. It explains what statistics you have and what is it that you need to really focus on. Okay, so
Okay.
moving on to reasoning. The reasoning is the because of your argument. Now, what you need to understand is that the assertion, reasoning, evidence, all of these are very important components, really.
Yes.
Okay, we've discussed all of these, and I'm moving on to the next one.
Okay.
So, what is the opening statement evidence that we're talking about? You see, for every argument you have in a debate, examples or evidence are necessary.
Okay.
So every debater should know how to use evidence.
Yes.
It is also something that plays a very important role in a judge's rubric. It helps you to bring a very real life context. So evidence, I told you, can be taken in many forms. It could be statistics, studies, examples, illustrations. So in prepared debates, statistics and studies are expected because of the amount that you have to prepare. But very often, your jam sessions or your impromptu debates, examples and your knowledge is all that you have to draw from. In that case, you must focus on providing real life examples, yeah, where people can sort of relate to. Okay, fine. Now we come to the closing statement.
Okay.
So the closing statement, the focus is on the big picture. You need to stress your main points.
Right.
Do include a very brief summary of the evidences that you've presented and supports that you've used to support your argument, but you don't have to bore your readers or listeners, by rehashing the entire argument.
Right.
The goal is to challenge, to inspire, and to captivate the listener's attention. So point out, be very specific in refuting, in going against your opponent's point of view. Recommend a course of action in your closing argument. Now,
Yes.
what is important? What is your course of action that we're really talking about? A course of action, what I mean is, for example, if you're sort of speaking on banning of books,
Okay.
so you need to use action words and imperative statements, yeah, to motivate the readers to respond. It's like a clarion call, yeah. So, for example, when you debate about censorship, you say, go talk to your principal, go talk to the librarian, write to the library director, or write to the people in authority, so that a change can be really brought about, which, and in this case, the library should have all material and it should be at the discretion of the reader what he wants to read. Saying no to censorship. So a call to action engages the reader. It motivates the reader to do something concrete.
Okay.
Yeah? So it engages, and that I think is a huge impact on the audience.
Right. Because audience are there to listen you in the debate, and you must have something concrete and meaningful in your closing statement, as Madam stated. So please be with us and keep listening carefully and watching us in this session. Please, ma'am, over to you.
Yes, thank you. And when you're talking about persuasive sentence starters, we need to understand that every writing skill or every critical thinking skill has a language. So I have listed a few starters that you can use, things that you can use. It's a very debate pro statement when you
Okay.
use these terms.
Okay.
Now, what is important is, before I go to the checklist, I need to tell you that when debaters are equally matched in argument and refutation, a speaker's style can be a tiebreaker. What I'm trying to say is that when you and your opponent are both equally good, you have the best of evidence, you have the best of arguments, what plays as a tiebreaker is the language that you use.
Yes. Right.
your usage of language, of words and phrases, and whether or not you've been able to build that connection.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't even have enough time to say everything that you want to. So there may be complex piece of economic analysis or a principle of law. So language, loaded words allow judges to remember things, without you having to explain them again and again. And depending on the round that you're in, it is very, very important for you to make that impact.
Okay.
Therefore, let's go on to the checklist. We have a checklist here. Now, what is it that you need to see? The main body, do you have 3 paragraphs in an argument? Have you put your strongest argument first? Very important for you to note this. Have you backed up each argument with opinions and evidences? Have you checked your grammar? So why I'm giving you this checklist is once you're done, you need to run through the checklist to see, have I done everything that's required?
Right.
The conclusion. Did you restate your point of view? Did you do it enough? Did you sum up your arguments well? Did you leave the reader with a strong closing statement?
Okay.
So the checklist actually tells you whether or not you're really prepared for the entire thing. Now, the most important thing I feel is what not to do.
Yes, this is the most important part of this session. Yes.
Yes. So, very important to know what not to do. Okay, now don't attack the other person. You're most likely having this conversation, debate for a reason. And you're looking to solve a problem. So don't sink to a level in the midst of a battle of attacking the other person. Their height, their weight, their religion, their job, their education, their sexual preferences, or anything else. That's besides the point. You're here to discuss a reason, stick to that. And don't generalize or exaggerate or be cynical or sarcastic, which I think you never should be. So very important that you remember these things. Not using inappropriate language or gestures. When you're using these inappropriate gestures, you tend to shift the focus of an argument. You may cause the other person to defend themselves, make excuses, or simply stop listening to you. They'll give up. Also, I feel you should never have an I know it all attitude, with a chip on your shoulder. That's not how you go as a debater.
Okay.
Everyone has something to learn and no one knows everything. So it doesn't matter what you do for work, where you went to school, or anything else for that matter. Start off with the spirit of wanting to learn something from another person. If you take the approach of knowing it all, then you can't connect with the audience or the people around. And as far as possible, avoid ultimatums, avoid threats.
Right.
Don't be disrespectful. Now, it also includes not rolling your eyes.
Right.
Or shaking your head and using cliches like, oh, you're so stupid. Or, you don't use your own body in a disrespectful way or to insult somebody else. Don't raise your voice. A good argument is always said in the most seething argument can be said in the most polite way. Okay. So, also, never walk away until it's all over. You never leave things midway. So that is also very, very important.
Right. As you suggest throughout the session so far, I have learned one thing, that everybody should be polite in the entire session from the beginning till the end. This is the most important thing, I think, must be there in the debate by every presenter, every participant.
Unfortunately, our exposure these days is more towards people who get aggressive.
Yes.
Who feel like pulling the other person down.
Right.
And that's not the purpose of a debate. The purpose of the debate is that you learn to accept what the others are saying, but whereas you also put your opinion in a very assertive way. Because ultimately we're looking at a possible outcome.
Absolutely agreed, ma'am. Right.
I also have a debate ready and would like you to listen to it.
Okay.
So here we go.
Okay, please.
A very good morning to respected principal ma'am, teachers and my dear friends. This house believes that traditional methods of studying are better than online ones. And today, I, Siddhi Kumar of 10C, stand before you to express my views for the motion.
This is how an introduction is made.
Okay.
Let's go on to argument building. How is she building up the argument?
Okay.
Today, in the modern world of the 21st century, most things are available at the click of a finger. This case is true for education too. While the world is threatened by a pandemic crisis of such magnitude, people are putting efforts into trying to continue their daily activities, and hence the prevalence of online classes has increased. All schools are trying to continue their curriculum through these online platforms, and hence comes the question of whether the comparison of traditional classes with online classes is justified. Online classes may be equipped with newer technology, but the traditional methods hold a lot more advantage in terms of personal connection. No matter how much you try, the connection between the teacher and the student in online classes can never get to par with traditional classes. Learning, for one, isn't possible without teaching. Everyone needs a good teacher. Teachers judge their students according to their personal requirements and their pace. They study their body language and their facial expressions, etc., to conclude whether they are able to understand the subject or not. But during online classes, they can't help but stare at blank screens with names and keep teaching without any input from students who often aren't able to voice out their concerns because of the nature of the communication, which is invariably distant. Moreover, school isn't just about academics. It includes social interactions and development in extracurricular activities. In the traditional schooling systems, the students have the support of their teachers, and besides learning the repetitive syllabus, they are also given an introduction to the world, conditioning them into becoming better human beings. By meeting and cooperating with others for these short years of their lives, they learn a lot more about the world than they ever could by reading or learning about it. Most online schooling systems are very curriculum-centric and rarely focus on building up these social or extracurricular skills. After the great developments in technology, the means of online education remain to be electronic devices. John Henry Clark has rightly said, "A good teacher, like a good entertainer, first must hold his audience's attention, and then he can teach his lesson." But staring at these devices all day long gets very overwhelming and tiring. Students soon lose interest in the topic and get distracted even by the most trivial of things. Besides that, this practice is very unhealthy for growing teenagers because they need the physical activity and social interaction that the school provides. The media platforms for these classes are also not very well regulated, and there are often reports of misbehavior and indiscipline amongst the students. Sadly, the problem with these institutions are that even the teacher, if there even is one, cannot help solve the problem of discipline amongst these classes. After a short period of time, it gets tiring for both the students and the teacher to have such a limited stage for expression.
Yes, so now we are moving to the conclusion of this debate.
Yeah, it is the conclusion of this debate.
Okay.
In the end, I would like to point out that the benefits of the e-classrooms can easily be adapted by the use of smart classrooms. The tradition of regular classes has and always will be better for the education of the students, so they can learn at their pace with the emotional support from their peers and teachers. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the wonderful example of a debate on these pandemic time. Based on this pandemic time, the current situation we are facing everywhere in the entire world, every country is suffering from this pandemic. Yes, please ma'am, please continue.
What I would also like to state here is that debates encourage children to anticipate objections, objections to their views, and they have to respond with counter arguments, weighing the grounds of opinion on both the sides. So children become analytical and sensible thinkers, and they're exposed to face the real world knowledge from their thoughts and various perspectives. On discussing specific subjects, children are empowered to sharpen their thinking abilities and they build themselves into responsible adults. And I think that is the need of the hour. We need responsible adults to run this society. And if we strengthen our education, this is what we are aiming at. So in a nutshell, debates have a very rewarding impact.
Right.
They help you learn certain life skills. The overall personality of children is impacted. So I think all in all, it's a win-win situation if we really encourage our children to participate.
Definitely, debate gives the strength to the participants. They can face the world easily because they have the research, they have the analytical skills, they have the knowledge of the subject. They have some facts for the topic and they have some facts against the topic. So
Yes.
they are very much capable, and would like to request you to conclude this session because we have hardly 4 minutes to conclude in this session. Please.
Okay. My earnest request to all the children here would be to not take the language lightly. It's very important. It's a tool. It aids you. It aids you to communicate. And in this time and age where communication is hampered and burdened by so much of technology, I think it's very important to share your anxieties, to share your inhibitions. So voice out. Even if you can't voice out from a podium, voice out to your friends, have a confidant. Make sure that you express opinion. It's very important because you are the stakeholders really, yeah, and you need to sort of embrace yourself and be ready for the world. Yeah.
Yes.
I would also like to thank and express my gratitude here to NCERT and CIT for giving me this wonderful opportunity, this podium from where I can express myself. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anudita Bhatia. You have given us the wonderful presentation and to let us understand in a very well manner what is the debate. The debate is not a word, debate is a very in-depth sea. So we have to check it out, and I must thank you to giving us the wonderful tip which I have noted down for me. The more you practice and plan your speaking, the less nervous you will be. So this will really help me in my career as well, and I'm sure our viewers who are watching us, connected with us through the telecast and the live streaming of the NCERT's official YouTube channel, they will be benefit, and I'm sure they will join us for our next sessions, and they will wait for your next sessions as well for the wonderful presentation and another subjects as well. So we would like to thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining with us. That's all for this session. Please be with us for our next sessions. Namaskar.